there's a few things I'd like to pick up on. One, if the police are not trained, why are they still walking around with their weapons on this campus? If they are already failing us, why are they still allowed to be around us? As a person pepper sprayed and now being persecuted by the school for another act, possibly, then why are these police officers still around? That's unacceptable. And if you took serious recommendations for the basis of this task force, then why did you ignore over 100,000 people who called for the resignation of Chancellor Katehi? I really would wonder, this report has done its work, right? It was to buy Katehi time and let this uproar die away. Now there are known mechanisms to hold her accountable despite the contents of the report. This same administration and these same police are now prosecuting some of the pepper spray victims and trying to imprison them for up to 11 years. And among those, one of the professors who's being prosecuted was the only one that day, as I was blinded and kneeling on the floor, who came to me and washed out my eyes and carried me away from those police officers. Why is the university now prosecuting him? The only principal person that day, the only person who helped me, why is the school now prosecuting him? When Katehi is walking around, when the police are walking around with the same abilities they had before, nothing has happened. This report should have changed something. It hasn't changed anything. How could this be?
Well, you know what? I think the president of the university knew what he was doing when he asked us not to make recommendations on who gets punished, if you will.
Yeah, because no one gets punished then.
Wait. Because that is clearly one of the protections under the law. And, you know, I repeated more than once that we've been subject to some, in my view, bad laws, that the police do have some protection. So I think he was trying to frame the questions to us.
What about the administration?
So we could get the report out immediately.
But this was an immediate,
it turned out
and the
that
administration
it didn't work out that way because of the lawsuit. But we were prepared, as you may know, months ago to issue the report.
Okay, the police aside, with their union aside,
yeah.
What about the administration? Why has Katehi, she's not even here today. What is going on? If you are all educated and so forth and should have a conscience and be of principle, don't you recognize this report took too long? Don't you recognize the bureaucratic ways that have pushed aside what's really important right now?
We're going to meet with the chancellor herself and go over the matters that I just mentioned a minute ago, the mistakes that were made, the lack of judgment, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we call these things as we saw them, and we're not apologetic about it, and we'll meet with the people that we've criticized.
Yeah, and on April 27th, I'll meet with the district attorney's office for the same violence against me of this university, and nothing is being held accountable for that. No one is being held accountable for that. What about that silent violence?
Yeah. I think we have a comment. Incidentally, the students in our task force were very active.
So I'm going to be really honest and really candid. We've been here for almost an hour. There's no reason to lie to you. I'm not going to discount anything you said because in reality, the vast majority of it is pretty true. And to be completely honest with you, employment contracts would not permit such things to happen. Katehi's not going anywhere. She is our chancellor, and she will remain our chancellor until she does something horrendously illegal. As it stands right now,
what about the pepper spray?
As it stands right now, that's not what happened due to university policy. So the answers that you're looking for are not going to be found on this task force because we're not allowed to do those things.
If you can't accomplish anything, what is your purpose?
Go ask Katehi. I can't answer everything.
No, ask yourselves. Why did you take the time to be part of these measures that will do nothing? They'll do nothing.
Then why did you show up?
To complain about this. What do you want? Because my eyes still hurt. Because I'm still being subjected to the violence of this university, and I won't stand it.
Our job was to point fingers and say what happened.
Why
did
I show up?
We can't do anything more than that.
You know,
were you hoping I wouldn't show up? Were you hoping?
Not even a little bit.
No one else showed up. There's no one here right now. So you got what you want.
You know, I do a lot of arbitrations. So let me just say, both of you have an excellent point. You're here to make your point, and I think, and it's well taken, and our committee member here is to indicate what our role was.
I just like to speak for some of the people who are
in the hope that it would do some good, as I think it will. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take only one more, and it'll be from this side.
I have to say this for somebody because she's legally not allowed to say this. The majority of the people who were pepper sprayed that day are now, as you all well know, unable to comment on this report because they're being prosecuted by the university for the very same thing, but by the Yolo County Court. So they no longer have a voice. The majority of the people sitting there cannot even comment on what's just happened on the Reynoso report because on April 27th, they're being called by the Yolo County Superior Court to appear for protesting the privatization of the university. The administration has changed tactics, and this has all happened at a time where we've gone from pepper spray, from OC spray, to now these same students and same professors are being targeted by the court. So now the residents of Yolo County are paying for this same kind of prosecution to go on. So it's being moved, and most of the people who really have something to say to this report cannot legally even comment on it. And I think that that's very important, the timing of when this finally did come out.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, Justice, I'm a United States Marine, and I got a skull fracture in Fallujah, so I'll do the best I can to be brief, but if you interrupt me, it's going to take me longer.
Yep.
Okay, my name's Nathan Vasquez. I'm an undergrad here at the university. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I served in Operation Enduring Freedom. I served in Operation Kosovo Force. I was an infantry Marine. I was qualified. It was OC spray that these officers used, was it not? Yeah, let's not call it pepper spray, because OC spray is completely different than pepper spray. To be qualified to handle this non-lethal weapon, we had to go through qualification every year. And I can tell you, as someone that's been shot at, that's been mortared, that's been in an IED accident, got a skull fracture in Fallujah, OC spray is the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. Moreover, when I was in Kosovo in 2002, where the hostilities between the Serbians and the Albanians are still very hot, we were armed with OC spray, batons, shields, rubber bullets, and bean bags. There were bottles thrown at us. There were rocks thrown at us. I was hit several times. We were allowed to deploy OC spray 0 times in Kosovo. We were not allowed to deploy rubber bullets or beanbag rounds or any of these types of things in the fear that it might cause an international incident. So I stood there as a United States Marine serving my country and Constitution with the shield and a baton, and I stood there for my country, and I took those. I took the oath to support and defend my Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, just like those police officers did. My comment is, the way they handled this situation as a United States Marine and as a student of this university disgust me. That being said, a lot of people are going to make comments and questions here about how are we going to handle this with the police.
And that should lead you to a question.
Yes, sir. I'm getting right to it, Justice. Thank you. As someone that's familiar with military and police culture, I can tell you that, we can do what we can to solve this problem here, but, it's a cultural, sociological problem that we're going to have a hard time fixing. But one of the ways we can fix it is to address, we do have a criminal justice program here, do we not? And some of those police officers, I would wager, I don't know for sure, I would bet they graduated from this school. And also we have a law school here. What are we doing to make sure that the students we graduate and that we send into the police force and that we send into the legislature and that we send to be lawyers to defend the civil rights of others, what are we doing in our academic programs, in our pedagogy, to make sure that the students we are producing will not reproduce these same tragedies?
That's a very good question. Would somebody on the task force like to? And you did give me your name earlier.
Nathan Vasquez.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Would somebody like to comment on that? I take it you're talking more about undergraduate training.
Well, yeah, I would hope that we're going to take this as an institution of education, that this is going to some way inform how we educate our students.
To first respond to one of the things you said, the majority of the police officers that work for UC-DPD are not from UC Davis.
Okay.
They're not even from Davis. They're actually from different municipalities, and they come to work on the university campus. So they come from locales that may be a city. So they might be a locale that be in a different city from LA, and then they're sent to Davis. So that is one problem that personally I think is a problem, and the task force agrees is a problem, the way that we recruit our officers. So that could be the first step that we take to, I guess, create better community efficacy on this campus. As for undergraduate achievements and recommendations for building a more beautiful world, Personally, I think that's a personal decision. The university will teach you what the university is supposed to teach you. Your teacher will teach you what you're supposed to teach you. The decision to be a good person is a personal decision. And as for the requirements and diversity training and things of that sort that the university is giving to UC students, to be honest, your diversity requirement can be fulfilled with a nutrition class. So you tell me what's going on.
I was one of the 10 people arrested on November 18th, and I'm just wondering how much, if any, coverage there is about any misconduct that may have happened in the police station to the people, or involving the people who were arrested.
Well, perhaps I should mention two things. One, there's a lawsuit, and so I assume that some of the folk indeed feel that they were hurt. Secondly, however, we have a specific request from the president not to speak to any discipline that should take place. To be frank in terms of what we think went awry, and we have been, but the disciplinary portion of it takes place by an investigation within the university that will decide who should be punished and who should not be. So that really was not our role. But you. Oh, I'm sorry. But so you can have. I'm being unfair. I didn't notice we had a whole group over there. So the next one we throw over there, so we didn't comment on that. But we're very frank. I didn't go over that portion of the report where we say who's responsible for what, and we go down the line saying we think what went wrong here, we think that's what went wrong there. So we're very specific on that, and I think you'll find that portion very instructive. Okay, over there. Sorry about that.
I'm Robert Ostertag. I'm a professor here at Davis. One thing that jumped out at me in the report was your finding that the pepper spray that was used was not an approved weapon of the university police, and that they were also not trained in its use. So I have two questions. One, how did a weapon that they're not approved of for using and that they're not trained in using end up in their hands? And two, do they have other weapons over there at the police department readily available that they're not trained in and that are not approved?
Yeah, well, there's a requirement, as I understand it, that folk be trained before they use different pepper sprays. I've become an expert on pepper spray. I didn't even know that there were different pepper sprays, and this was a more, and in their protocol, they did have that some were trained to use a pepper spray, but it wasn't as strong a pepper spray as the one that was used. So your concern is really quite proper. We did not interview because, again, under the Policeman's Bill of Rights, we didn't have a subpoena, so we did not interview Lieutenant Pike. So we don't know his story. That is why he had that, why he did not. I'm sorry to say that's one matter that we didn't find out about because we didn't have subpoena power.
Just to comment, if safety of students is the primary concern, and this, according to the university administration, the whole reason they went out and took down the tents is concern for safety. And given the fact that that pepper spray is considered a lethal weapon in certain circumstances, you know, the idea that an unapproved weapon in which people have no training are being used is a very, very serious matter.
And the irony is, as you notice in the report, that it wasn't even used properly. So no, I agree with, well, obviously the task force agrees with you that all of that is very serious.